Hi, everyone. Um, my name is Robin Warner. I am with Hillcrest Children and Family Center. And today we are going to go over school life balance. And we're going to talk a little bit about some strategies for some academic and personal well being. All right, so just to start off, the definition of school life balance refers to the equilibrium between academic responsibilities and personal life activities, right? Like we want it to be a good balance so that our mental wellness is okay, we're able to still be productive with school. And we do all this to ensure that students can manage their studies, not be overwhelmed, and still enjoy fun things, leisure activities, hobbies, and self care. Some of the benefits, right, that we talk about when we talk about achieving a balance is first of all, maintaining a school life balance significantly influences students' academic success. So if they have a good work life balance, they are able to, their academics actually do improve, right? Because they have that mental wellness. If they don't have a good work life balance or school life balance, excuse me, and they feel overwhelmed, they might be spending more time on self care than they are on their homework, right? Or they might be spending way too much time doing their work and not enough time to take care of themselves. That will show and it will impact their academics. So it's really important that we do have benefits, and that we are able to recognize those, right? So as I mentioned, it does lead to improved academic performance, higher retention rates, better overall satisfactions. Some studies have shown that students who actually balance their activities can have and achieve higher grades, compared to those who solely focus on academics. So, some influences on mental health. So, a well balanced school life will reduce some stress, anxiety, and burnout among students. So, when our students and kiddos are coming and saying, "Hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like this class. I'm not going to get do very well." Um, that might show us that they're leaning into stress, anxiety, and burnout, right? So by engaging in those personal interests that they like, social activities with their friends, these things are going to foster some resilience, and it's going to help them maintain a better mental health throughout their academic journey. So we're keeping this balance to show them that you can do work and homework and school and tests, and your social life is equally as important, which we know it is for that sense of connectedness and belonging and community that comes. And that's super important for a lot of kiddos and adults, frankly. So, these are some physical symptoms that you might see if your kiddo does not have a good school life balance, right? So typically, a student under stress, they might exhibit headaches. They might be super tired all the time. They might change their appetite, meaning they're eating too much, eating too less. Um, just like, when adults get stressed out, we will see that in people who suffer with chronic stress. This should be immediately addressed by your child, by you, take them to the doctor, that kind of thing. Um, the other symptoms that you might see, you might get kids who are just sick more often, or you might see kids that have stomach aches, they might have pains that they never had before. Um, and these are other ways that our body is telling us it's time to take a break. I cannot keep going the way that I'm going, right? So just keep that in mind. If you notice that your child is um, during the school week all of a sudden saying, I feel sick, I have a headache, I don't want to go, this test is like, they keep talking about the test, but they're maybe way too tired to focus on things, right? If you see physical symptoms that you don't typically see, that is something that we want you to look at and bring it up to a doctor if it is something that continues primarily for more than 2 weeks. So, some emotional indicators that a child is stressed, right? So, obviously, we are going to assume stress is going to look like anxiety, feeling overwhelmed. The one that I think people don't really look at is irritability. So, with a lot of people, irritability, kids included, irritability is something that um, is something that we think can be changed behaviorally when it might just be a response to feeling angry, overwhelmed, depressed, or stressed, right? So if we're able to recognize these signs, they're going to lead to an improvement in their academics and their personal well-being. If we're able to say like, hey, it looks like you seem a little anxious about school, or hey, this my kid's been a lot more irritated with me in the last maybe 2 to 4 weeks, I wonder what that's about. That can be one of those signs of chronic stress, and if left unaddressed, it can, like we said earlier, lead to a more unbalanced school life uh, that we don't want to see, which will impact their academics, right? Because as we mentioned earlier, if they are not able to maintain that balance, if the scales are tipped one way or the other, it will impact their academics, unfortunately. So here are some behavioral changes you might see if someone is struggling with chronic stress, right? So behavioral changes might show up as withdrawing from social interactions. They might not want to be with their friends anymore. They might want to just stay in the house, in their room, play games, which we understand. Kids love their games, love their video games. We respect that. But if it's something that's completely different, if they really enjoyed going with their friends and hanging out and now they no longer want to do that, that's going to be something that might we might want to keep an eye on. If they're no longer participating in class, or if they're trying to skip class or skip school. If you have a kiddo who really enjoys going to school and all of a sudden um, they're not going, they are not participating, their head is down in class, you have teachers calling you saying, hey, your kid didn't participate today, or they skipped your class or something like that, that's going to be something that you're going to want to look at as well. Um, a noticeable decline in academic performance is a strong indicator of stress. And I will reiterate this time and time again, right? As a student's decline, there's a correlation between that. If they continue to decline, it will impact their stress, right? Because they know that's not a good thing. This you might want to look at if their grades start to lower, if they're missing deadlines, if homework is due and they're not turning it in, um, or if they're increasingly negative about their abilities. If they're getting decent grades, right, but they still are having a lot of negative self talk about that, that could be a change in them. That might be something that we might want to look at and say, hey, you're actually doing pretty well. You know, you might not be getting the A's, but like you're still doing the thing you need to do. You're doing okay. And if their response is, I'm not good enough, it's not as good as other people, if there's a lot of comparison between how they're doing academically and others, that might show that there's that imbalance between school and life, right? All right. So the main point, one of the main points that we want to talk about today is some stress management techniques. Now, the key for this is to find a technique that works best for you, works best for your family, and works best for your student. Okay. So I'm sure, as we all know, and as we've talked about time and time again, there are many, many ways to manage stress, right? Exercise, meditation, yoga, hobbies, spending time with family. I'm sure we could all come up with a few. So I would take this time actually to think about a few um, things that you do for yourself as the parent to manage your own stress. Does that mean that you take an hour for self care if you can? Does it mean you um, might be calling your family once a week and have a family chat with family members if they don't live near you? Is it even just like going to an exercise class um, once a week? That might be a way to get rid of some stress, right? Going running. But we want to make sure that we teach these skills and these techniques to our kids as well. So, obviously, physical activity and exercise. This is the most common one that we tend to lean towards when we're looking at stress management because it does release those endorphins that make us feel good. Okay. So, uh, regular physical activity will also enhance your mood and promote relaxation as a result of those endorphins. Okay. So, some activities that you can start to give to your students could be taking a walk around the neighborhood. Maybe they are on track or they like running, and you can say, hey, let's go for a jog around, again, around the neighborhood. We can go to a local school, run around the track a little bit, get some of that stress out, right? Team sports, that's another really, really healthy one that we want to kind of give to our kiddos because for two reasons. A, it does give that physical activity, and it gives social um, connectedness. So if you are enrolling your kids in football, in soccer, in track, in any of those team sports, basketball, whatever it is, that's a really, really good way for you to kind of, and your child to accomplish two ways to release stress by that social connectedness as well as that physical activity. And a bonus for physical activity is that it does give us a little break from our academic pressure, right? We might be thinking about it. We might be thinking about the quizzes that we have, but hopefully that can kind of take a back seat if we're doing yoga, taking a walk around the neighborhood, that kind of thing. So the other one that I know is really common and that people talk about a lot is mindfulness and relaxation. Now I know this one can be a little tricky because practicing mindfulness, while it has gained popularity, is still a tricky one to put into practice. But I really do want to promote that practicing mindfulness with meditation, deep breathing techniques, or yoga, or other mindfulness ways really does, it's been proven to reduce stress, right? So by practicing mindfulness, it does allow students to clear their mind, to enhance their focus, as well as to, again, that promote emotional well-being. So there are a lot of ways to, we don't have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to mindfulness. There are a lot of mindful um, and meditation apps that are geared towards kids. For example, I know Calm is one that's really great. I know that Headspace does one that's also really good. So there are a lot of apps that are geared towards mindfulness in regards to children and adolescents. So that could be something that maybe we can start doing before we go to bed, right? Because I know that's a really tricky one for kids. A lot of times they go to bed and then they're just awake thinking about all the things they have to do tomorrow. And frankly, I'm sure as adults we do this too, right? Thinking about all the things I have for work. Your student is probably also thinking about, did I get all my homework done? Did I study enough? Am I going to do well on this test? Practicing mindfulness before we go to bed, and or first thing in the morning when we wake up before our brain has fully jumped into anxiety mode can be a really good way to kind of produce that emotional well-being as well as reducing our stress. All right, so obviously building a support system is a really good skill to have for our kiddos. It's also a really great way to manage our stress, right? I as well as other therapists and mental health professionals, do believe that social support, feeling connected, is vital in managing our stress as well as managing our mental health. So, building a support network of friends, families, or even counselors can alleviate that feeling of stress. A lot of times, when we feel isolated, when we feel alone, that's when our negative thoughts come in. That's when our depression and anxiety might kind of start to creep in. But if we have people we can lean on when we're not doing well, that will improve that and kind of silence those negative thinking. Open communication about academic pressures will also allow students to share their concerns, um, get guidance, and foster that sense of community. So even if it's something like a study groups are a really great way also to have kids lean on each other because they're going through the same stuff. and they can share their concerns about the class, they can share their concerns about, do I understand this work? And they can get that guidance if they have peers that understand that, but they can also all come together and seek out the teacher and say, hey, we really don't understand this. Can you give us some guidance on this? Right? So this is a really great way, that support system, whether it's friends, families, counselors, teachers, um, other classmates, people in church, like anybody who your student feels like they can rely on and lean on when they're struggling is really important. All right. So another way that we can improve our students' academic boundary, or excuse me, school life balance is with academic boundaries. So this can be a little tricky, but having something that is structured will help improve that wellness, right? So, for example, a structured study schedule is going to mitigate last minute cramming and it increases their retention. Um, Allotting specific times for studying not only enhances their focus, but allows for breaks and creates a balanced routine. These are really important, again, to maintain that balance, right? Because if they're coming home and then just doing work for hours and hours on end, maybe taking a break for dinner and then going right back to it, um, they're not going to be able to retain a lot of that information. Our brain actually retains information when we take breaks, when we go to sleep, when we're not staring at a computer or our textbooks over and over and over again. So we can have a structured study schedule, maybe for 2 hours, 3 hours, but making sure that we're having breaks put into that will help them, but also will show them that after that time is up, again, they can dedicate the rest of the time in the day, in the weekend, whatever, to their self care. So, boundaries are going to be really important, that we want to try to implement early on so that they learn as they get older and the work gets harder that regardless if you have a lot of work to do, we're going to spend 2 to 3 hours doing homework a night or however much it is. And then we get a break. You can continue doing your self care. You can call your friends. You can play your game. You can go outside. Um, and it will improve their ability to manage these stressors on their own as well. Obviously, we want to limit social media. Social media can be a good and bad thing, but a lot of social media is going to contribute to their burnout as well as their distraction. Um, Setting specific time limits. There are ways, I'm sure everybody knows, to set time limits on kiddos' phones for TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, group chats, all of those things. If you can set a time limit for the phone, it's going to encourage our kiddo to obviously engage more deeply in their personal lives. They're going to have to unfortunately be forced to come out of the screen and go and maybe talk to their siblings or sit with you and make dinner or go outside and do something for themselves, right? Because social media can be that, it sucks them in, it sucks everybody in, which is great to a point. But when we're trying to, again, create balance, we don't want anybody to spend time on something that can be detrimental. So we want to have that good balance. And limiting social media realistically is good for everybody's mental health. And it's also really good for um, keeping that consistency and saying, okay, we're done with this now. We're going to move on to something else, whether that's homework or whether that's other um, self care activities, right? Because we want a well rounded um, set of skills that we can do to help and strengthen our school life balance. So, speaking of self care is going to be the big one. Obviously, another big one. I feel like I've said that a lot today, but self care, hobbies, these things are really, really important for children in terms of their mental health. So, self care and playing sports, doing art, having hobbies, watching, being engaged in clubs, these things foster resilience, they reduce stress, and they promote emotional well being. Um, because as we kind of spoke about earlier when we were talking about physical activity, they provide outlets for our kiddos. So whether that's for expression with art, whether that's for building self esteem, whether that's for positive habits like going running, doing yoga, stuff like that, having hobbies and self care is going to not only promote that emotional well being, but it also will assist them in fostering a sense of accomplishment. So when you have students who are saying like, "Hey, I painted that. Like, look at how good that is," or "Hey, I finished a race and my time was better than it was last time," or "We played, a football game and we won this time," right? Like that sense of confidence and self accomplishment is going to be really important. So some activities, as I mentioned, that you're going to want to look at. Obviously, sports, team sports, individual sports, they're great ways to create that sense of accomplishment. Creative arts, whether that's art, music, theater, dance, drama, whatever it is, like that's another way to get out some expression. And other outdoor activities where we're outside, we're in nature, we're with getting our vitamin D if the sun is out and not raining. These are just some ideas. I'm sure you know, kids have their other ideas of what they want to do for self care. So speak with your child about, hey, what are some things that bring you joy in your day? And if they don't have any, it's a good way to try to do a kind of trial and error, right? All right, we're going to try football. How did we think about that? Did we like it? Did we not? Oh, okay, we didn't like it. Let's try volleyball this time. Yes, no. Oh, okay, let's try band. Let's try art. Like, find the thing that works best for your student so that they have that outlet for themselves in terms of self care. And I just want to say all of this to say thank you guys so much. But please, please, please reach out if you ever need anything, if you need ideas, you want to talk through any of this. I know a lot of times our focus is solely on academics. And as the mental health professional or one of the mental health professionals in the school, I want to encourage us to also look at other options so that we do create that good school life balance because we know as adults it's really important. And so I just kind of want to say all of this to say find what works for your kid. Um, Let them explore different options and figuring out what works for them, and that consistency and that the schedule, the limits, all of that is going to be a really great way to just start that process now. So thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, like I said, questions, comments, concerns, please reach out to me at my email there, or you can please feel free to give me a call. And or please reach out to the basis mental health team, the student support team. They have my contact information as well. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.